share with you how I use a combination of writing and Epiphany Mapping to parse out all this chaos as I go through life. These two tools are fundamentally very different. Writing is a linear process that is highly emotional in nature because you can only write one sentence at a time, one page at a time. Whereas mapping is a cerebral, non-linear, deconstructive mental exercise. I know that's a mouthful, but all that is, it's more head than heart. When you use these two things together, that is when you are really unlocking the power of reflecting through journaling. Yes, mapping is a form of journaling. In fact, it is often way more efficient to map something out, especially when it comes to your emotions, than writing. Sometimes it'll take the whole notebook to convey something that can be expressed or deconstructed within a single well-placed map. Today, we're going to use an actual example that I'm actively going through. I just arrived in a new city, Shanghai, that is full of fun as well as distractions. Honestly, it's been a lot. I'm constantly asking myself, am I doing what I'm supposed to do while balancing self-discovery, self-growth, or trying to find our path through professional and personal? It's not always straightforward. So let's dig in. I usually start with journaling first thing in the morning before my ego judgmental mind wakes up. First, we have today's date. My first question was, am I slipping? Mainly because for the last couple of days, I've been saying yes to a lot of things. As coming to a new city, you're very open. However, I am starting to feel there are certain stuff like filming this video that is now starting to come into my mind. And I'm going like, okay, how do I balance? What am I really here for? What is the most important thing? Tasks. We're going to get to the map in a bit, but I'll tell you my sequence, which is I usually start with a question. With any stream of consciousness, I usually start with how I'm feeling. Am I slipping? Question mark. And then this is where I took a step back. In the cafe, I wrote that question out and then I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and then meditated for 10, 15 minutes, but I just let my mind settle on that question and relax into it. With this journaling practice, you're not just doing a word vomit. You're trying to explore yourself. And when you try to explore yourself in a very tense situation, in a tense mindset, it's like digging through rock. So you have to actually first soften your heart as well as your mind by releasing a lot of the tension. Remember, you're carving out 30 minutes to an hour for yourself every single morning in order to ground yourself and then figure out where you're gonna burrow into that ground. And remember, reflection is learning. It is the highest form of learning because you're learning from experience. Without a reflection layer, like mapping or writing, you're letting the most valuable lessons of your life slip through your fingers every day. After 15 minutes, I realized that what does it even mean to slip? Slipping means I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. What am I supposed to be doing in the first place? These are all why level questions that if you go through life just doing the how and the what level stuff, you're a robot. These days, AI can take care of the how as well as figure out the what. As humans, we're solely responsible for triangulating the why. That's what brings us meaning. After my reflection is my main job is to manage the voice, take care of my body, and let go of my sankharas. And do not close my heart, keep my heart open. What must I do to do that? The journey is the point. After I wrote out this one statement, I was like, I think I need to bust out the map part now. Mainly because, yeah, I can go through and try to answer what each of these is, or I can use a more efficient tool now that the intention has been set. This is where I put my life tasks. The concept of life task comes from the book, The Courage to be Disliked. It's a concept from Adlerian psychology. These are the tasks that you know you should be doing, that only you can do. And once you achieve these tasks, once you get these daily quests out of the way, you're gonna feel a lot better. You're gonna feel you're living your purpose. You don't wanna outsource this to anybody else. So the first one is managing the voice. I made a separate video about this, but it is a concept from Michael Singer's The Untethered Soul. This chattery mind that is telling us not good enough, or you should be doing this, or you should be doing that. But it is not a reflection of who we are. And if we always listen to the voice, we're not going to live a very fulfilling life. So managing the voice, understanding where it's coming from, when it's actually really loud and taking over my life, critical. Number 2 is maintaining the body. This is really obvious. Anytime you've been sick, life feels crap. So you want to take care of this vehicle. And you'll notice here that I actually took my red pen and I labeled it right here. If my body fails, none of this matters. I won't be able to enjoy anything or anyone. What I like to do after I write all of these out is to put the reason why here. This journaling section is really figuring out the why component so you can align your how and your what to have the maximum impact. And then I have let go of sankharas. This is a concept that I learned from Vipassana meditation, whereby there are these past unresolved issues in my heart or in my mind. And as I go through life, they're going to get triggered and going to kick off a whole cascade of negative emotions and thoughts. An example of sankhara is social anxiety. I sometimes have a hard time approaching people, especially strangers, and getting to know them. Instead, I'm staying within my comfort zone because it elicits this primal fear or this desire to be accepted. So I'm going to put fear of rejection and desire to be accepted. One of the things that I can do to work on this, now that I know what this sankhara is to go to a social event every week. You see how this is really important, because on the surface, it may seem that I'm getting distracted by going to social events. But the whole point of this is so that I can get over my inherent social anxiety of meeting strangers. So it becomes the point rather than the distraction, depending on what you're trying to do. For example, last week I went on a 3-day trip with one of my new friends, Matt Lowe. And the old me would have gone like, oh, you're spending so much time on social things, you're not working on the stuff that you're supposed to. But it turned out to be an amazing trip where I learned so much about China, about my friend's life, my mapping, and my deep listening skills to parse out through his chaos gave me a sense of purpose. And it told me that this is exactly what I should be doing. The final one is not close my heart. We have access to this crazy amount of energy that doesn't come from food or sleep. It happens when we keep our heart open and we receive the joy, the rush of being alive. Just imagine, there are times where you may be well slept and well fed, you would still wake up in the morning depressed. And there are other times when you may stay up until 4 a.m. or forget to eat because you're talking to someone that you met that you just really like. That's the kind of energy that I'm talking about. That can only come when we keep our heart open. The easiest way to keep our heart open is not to close in the first place. So I'm going to write here is access to energy. And over here, we should have wrote this before, is heal and overcome the past. Manage voice. I'm going to say reduce mental chatter, which leads to inner peace. That, my friends, is living the good life. You'll notice that I also draw an arrow from maintaining the body, because maintaining the body means routine, structure in the chaos. Super important, which means that meditation is now part of my morning routine. I also have an arrow from letting go of sankharas, because as I mentioned, being mindful of when we are getting triggered and how that trigger leads to fear, worry, or anger is super important. Finally, not closing my heart. If I'm able to let go of my sankharas, if I'm able to manage my voice and maintain my body, my heart will naturally be able to open as well. But also understanding and feeling when it's starting to be constricted, when my breath even is starting to get very shallow and jagged. Really important. Again, meditation is this training of awareness of our state. All 4 arrows lead to one thing, which makes this very powerful. Your circumstances might be a little bit different. That's why it's so important to journal and figure out what your definition of being on track is versus when you're slipping. Because the map itself is nonlinear, it's like a brain dump. In order for some of the insights as well as the practices to stick, I'll synthesize it into writing. This is where my journal comes in. For all intents and purposes, I'm going to start a new page. I'm going to say, I want to do this because I'm here to live a full and happy life, not just a productive one. I'll manage the voice through meditation 2 times a day. Those 15-minute sessions is the best ROI of my time. I can't afford not, underline not, emphasis, to reflect, exclamation mark. And this, my friends, is how you create your own affirmations that are so meaningful and deep to you. That is the power of going back and forth, starting with writing of a stream of consciousness with a single question, and then mapping out your answers and then synthesizing your answers back. Why do we do this versus just taking somebody else's affirmations or just listening to an audiobook? Because the friction is the point. Especially in the age of AI, you can just ask ChatGPT to give you a synthesized version of all of this. But they've done studies whereby people who use AI in order to just simply output something have really a hard time recalling and utilizing the stuff that they have outputted. This is where friction is the point. In fact, this is also how I read books in order to integrate them into my repertoire. I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. As always, I am here for you. Take care now.